go.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our presentation on the future of music PR, where we think that music PR is going in 2020 and beyond. My name is Adamic. I'm the co-founder of a music PR agency called Liberty Music PR.
And I'm Adam, also co-founder of Liberty Music, and we have some exciting things to talk about. Okay, the first one is, and I want to get most people's thoughts on this, is PR dead for music? Or is it in decline, or is it thriving? So I thought I'd ask first by getting a show of hands. So put your hand up if you believe that
music
music
think it's in decline.
is PR itself is in decline.
No, great. And if you think that there's actually an ever need for it, who thinks that it's
Who
still...
thinks it's growing? There's more need than ever.
Good.
Nobody.
Good. We've got more yeses than nos, which I think is...
Sorry, can you raise your hands higher? It says, who believes it's growing?
Cool.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So positive then.
So, to outline, really, it's definitely not in decline. The role of the publicist is ever more important in today's world. We just have to diversify what we're doing and what channels we're tapping into. The traditional forms of PR, so television, radio, print press, even blogs to a certain degree, are certainly on their way out. We know with TV and print for sure, but there are so many new networks that are available to us when promoting an artist, which is really exciting. The largest reach just doesn't work anymore, and we are infiltrating smaller networks and communities to enable us to get the artist's music message out. And a really good example of this is last year, so Solange went on the Jimmy Fallon show to promote her new album. After the show, was expecting a real surge of sales because she was able to perform a few songs, have an interview, and unfortunately that just didn't happen. A month after that, she was invited to speak on a podcast, a female empowerment podcast around some of the key themes of her album, and saw a huge interaction and huge engagement after doing that podcast. So I think that just proves the point around the smaller communities, and the audience of that podcast was tiny in comparison to the Jimmy Fallon audience, TV viewers.
Yeah. So, it's being more thoughtful about which channels we use, which networks and communities, and before we sort of dive into that a little further, I think it's really important to understand what PR is, because as an agency, we often get misconstrued sometimes. There's different perceptions of what PR actually is, and when we take it back to the basics, the founder of sort of modern PR, Edward Bernays, in the 1920s, defined it as moulding public opinion positively by informing, persuading, and integrating people with people. So when we take it on this definition, we can see how important the role of music PR is to, growing an artist's career, because there's some important fundamentals we need to address. And if we look at all the different channels that are out there today in which to address this, there's so many, and it's almost infinite in possibility.
So this is a sort of a wheel of all of the diverse channels that you can tap into now, certainly as a publicist, as a PR practitioner, when promoting an artist. And as you go around them, obviously I talked about podcasts, playlists have a really big important role in that, which we'll go into in a minute. Brand collaborations is huge for us now as a PR agency. We're working with some of the biggest global brands in the world, and allowing our artists to pair up with them in a really authentic way, and allowing the artists to tap into all of the brand channels, marketing channels that are available, which allows them to get in front of new audiences that are the most appropriate audiences for them, and to generate new fans, which is essentially what we're trying to do. So we're actually doing a really exciting project at the moment with Topshop. We're actually about to launch their first live series of in-store events at their flagship store in London, or Oxford Circus, and we're kicking that off at the end of the month. So we are putting on 3 of the I'd say tomorrow's emerging ones to watch, giving them a platform, giving them an audience, and allowing them to promote their music in front of the ideal audience for them. And playlists, do you want to just go into a little bit
Yeah,
about
sure.
that?
I mean, we could talk a lot on the brands. I think it would definitely help expand the artist audience in a big way, reach new demographics, and align their brand with the high street brand, or the retail brand, or the fashion brand, or whichever it is. So, moving on to playlists. I mean, one of the things that we focus on is building up artist streams. But not just the actual stream, just listeners, but active listeners. We're finding more than ever now it's important to have an active listenership. So people who are going to go and save your track to their own playlist, going through to your social media, check you out, become a super fan. This is more important than ever. And the way we do this normally is through carefully selecting playlists that match their sound, their genre, their style. If they're touring in a certain city, we might want to focus on playlists in, where the curator's based in that city. So being really thoughtful about where the artist is placed is more important than ever, I think, especially to avoid skips as well. And to really build more engagement. And, the role of the PR is in helping them do that. And, we're seeing that really important. So influencer marketing, that's another huge area. One of the things that we do is influencer challenges. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but there's so many different channels here that we can explore beyond, some of the old stereotypical thoughts of music PR, which is, just publicity channels like prints and blogs and things like that. So, so personal branding is everything. I mean, we're all a personal brand to a certain extent. Pretty much all of us have an Instagram account or TikTok account, and we're engendering an audience. And for artists, it's more important than ever. And our role as a PR is to really help grow their personal brand as well. We have to dissect it and look into what they're about and what their messaging is, what narrative are they trying to create. It's not just new track, new band anymore. It's the brand itself. And to give you an example, Coats of the Friend, he's like a poster child on Spotify at the moment. He's one of our clients, one of our artists, and we looked into sort of creating a strap line for him, not so much a public one, but just for us to help understand his brand. Simply, we looked at the artist audience narrative. So that was, this is something we've come up with him after brainstorming with him over quite a few different sessions. He sort of describes himself as an independent artist with simplistic style and a torchbearer of truth. And if you take those 3 elements, independent, simplistic style and truth, we have channels in which we can really explore and help him build his brand. And we can be more focused in our efforts and our activities and get more effective results, if you see what I mean. So, for example, with Independent, we created a podcast. We invited other artists who are championing artist independence, who don't want to sign to a major label. They believe in their own, doing it themselves, and he's been massively successful at that. And giving the other artists that we invited onto the show his insights on how to do it, and building a team around him and things like that. So that was one of the roles as his PR. We had to really build on that story. And then his simplistic style, he's very much simplistic in his dress. He doesn't go for the Yeezys and the Nikes and stuff. He's very much just basic and not about fronting, which is kind of unusual for a lot of hip hop artists. So there was a story there that we could explore, especially with the fashion blogs. And also some of the fashion platforms and brands as well, like K-Way wanted to get involved. They have quite a simplistic style, and Yeah, and you know, I could talk at length about the truth bit. His mainly focuses on authenticity, creating lyrics that resonate with his audience, and I feel refreshing as well. You know, because he's all about just telling the truth and telling it like it is.
So the next slide is storytelling is becoming more immersive. So PR is storytelling. So we go back a few thousand years to the clay tablet, first discovered in Iraq. That was a form of storytelling, of information gathering. Then sort of moving forward a few thousand years, we have the extinct No More Enemy print, where so these two forms
That's
is
free. Yeah.
that was sorry.
Yeah, it's free, but yeah.
Yeah, that no longer exists. So, you know, it was a sort of a one-way form of communication. It's a one-way sort of street to how we immersed ourselves with those stories. Then moving along to the computer, where we spent sort of, you know, more hours, I guess, engaging in information and various stories, right through to the phone, which I guess most of us sort of have with us 24 hours a day. Some people sleep with their phones. We've always got our phones in our hands. We're always dialing into information. Moving to the very next phase, which will be the VR headset, where we are fully immersed in the story, which is exciting and scary at the same time.
Yeah. And by the looks of things, VR headsets are growing in sales like exponentially, so we're expecting this to become more important for storytelling as well, and helping artists build their narrative through VR and AR as well. So yeah, it's becoming more immersive.
So giving you a really nice example, so EE and Bastille collaborated just at the very start of the year on a sort of AR concept, basically. So across 4 stations in the UK, they allowed customers, EE customers with a 5G phone, to basically experience a augmented reality performance by Bastille at a certain time, creating a wholly immersive interaction. And in turn creating some really compelling storytelling, winning over new fans and cementing hardcore fans that they had already, and creating a viral PR story.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do we think of the future? We truly believe that VR, virtual reality and AR, is the future of PR. That's where we think it's going. I don't know if there's any Muse fans in the house here, but we're just going to show you a little video on Muse. Basically, they had an album out just over a year ago called The Simulation Theory, where they basically invited fans to a 360 immersive experience pre-show. So they took the album globally on a global tour and treated fans to a pre-show enhanced experience, where they allowed their fans to actually step into the music video and actually experience what it was like to be in the music video via an AR concept. And we'll let that play so you can see.
People are interested to find new ways to immerse themselves in experiences. I think VR really is genuinely the next step in terms of getting that immersive feeling that maybe people felt in the early 20th century when they first saw motion picture. Right around the time of even writing or rehearsing the album, before we even recorded it, we're already thinking about the visual world that might come with that album, and how they're living through this period of immense integration of technology into our lives, and what comes with that is an element of excitement, pleasure, and what it means for human beings.
Here are trying to take you even further into the world that music creates anyway. With this enhancement, at least you can just go even further into that visual world than just your imagination. But certainly when we started making the videos with the director Lance Drake, we started really discovering this visual world. So now it's really cool, because the games, you can just literally go inside the dark side video and actually be in it.
I think it's the coolest thing that you're able to play these games and have the music just blasting in your ear, because having music playing right there alongside those characters and stuff like that is really immersive.
Borderline cosmic. It's something totally out of this world.
I think this album is the best we've ever done in terms of creating this world around everything from the videos, the music, the live show, and obviously now a game as well. It's the first time we've really been this involved in so many different types of medium and managed to sort of get them all to feel connected.
This is like a step up, totally crazy experience. I love it.
So, just to summarize, I think this video is exciting in the sense that there are so many possibilities in which we can create, not just the artists, but also for PRs and their, storytelling, their persona, their messaging. We can bring in other creators and other influencers and brands into these videos and collaborate and create even more interesting experiences with other creators. I think as a PR, there's huge opportunity here. And not just the story itself of this video, it's what we can do inside of the VR world as well, and the AR world. I think being forward-thinking and thoughtful about that as PRs is the way forward.
Yeah, and I think we used to work with the motto that seeing is believing. I think we're now moving into the feeling is believing, and certainly for a publicist, VR is creating a real element of realness and excitement and emotion that a press release and a short video just can't do, basically. And we're allowing the end user to feel real deeper emotional connection to the artist and their product.
Yeah, I think creating that deeper emotional connection is so important, and that's our role as publicists, is to create that connection. And using these tools will allow us to do that, and we can get it ever more creative about how we go about it as well. So storytelling's become more interactive. The way we see this is, it started off as just very 1D, one-dimensional. So we receive a news piece or a press, a magazine, and we consume that, and we would store that in our minds, and we could either get excited or not, and maybe we'd go to a show or we'd buy in some merch or something. But now, storytelling is becoming a lot more interactive. It's involving the fans and their participation. They want to be a part of the artist's narrative. And to give you an example, in the middle bit, we're working with an artist called Etta Bond. We created a hashtag challenge on Instagram based on her single release, but the challenge was that you had to sing or rap over her new track. So we got hold of the backing track, and we carefully selected quite big influencers who matched her sound and her style and her image in many ways, and invited them to rap and sing over the track. And their followers then did the same, and as a result it went viral. The winner of the challenge got to support her at the showcase which we organised in London, so that was super effective. We reached 1.5 million on Instagram, 1.5 million reach. We had over 600 video submissions. It was super successful. And I think part of the reason for that was the participation. The fans getting involved with Etta Bond's music. And I think going into the future, we're going to start to create more participation. With stories and with music and with video, pictures, words. I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm.
Should I shoot for
Yeah,
this one?
you know this one quite well.
This one's pretty crazy. I have to mention AI because I think it's going to change most of our lives pretty swiftly in the next few years. Obviously, we started off with just one channel, the TV. Now we have multiple channels that are recommended to us on YouTube through algorithms and our behavioural data on our tastes and our you know, so the videos we receive and the pictures and the content we receive is a lot more personalised than it used to be. Going into the future, I think what's going to happen is as 5G kicks in and AI is on the up, we'll have hyper-personalisation taking over, where content is like ultra-personalised to you, to your taste. You're unlikely to skip through it because it'll be really fitting, and also, you know, there will be an element of storytelling which is adaptive as well to the end consumer. And as a PR, that's kind of interesting, because if we have a press release or a story that adapts itself to the user slightly, depending on their tastes and preferences, or moods for the day, that could really increase a lot more of the, you know, emotional connection between fan and artist. So that's really interesting. I think you know, also AI can help us as within our PR organisation make things smoother, run faster, take away some of the mundane tasks, and allow us time to be more creative, more conceptual, and as a result, you know, help build the artists' careers. And yeah, there's infinite possibilities waiting for us, I think. That's until the robots take over. Anyway. But yeah, so, you know, do you want to?
Yeah, I suppose
summarise?
just to summarise then, really, as we come to the end of our talk, so we've gone from 1D right through to 3D, so 3D being the VR, the AR, immersive concept of storytelling and immersing yourself and interacting with the artist and the story that they're pitching. So 3D PR will be more interactive, more immersive, and more personalised. And you know, to round it off, it just allows us to have a deeper, meaningful connection with the fans and the artist fans, and that's what we're here for, really. And that takes us to the end of our talk, and hopefully opens some questions from you guys. Really keen to know what your thoughts are and whether you think it's going in this direction too.
Yep, thanks.
Hi, I'm Andrea from Serbia. So I have a question about, you said you have fears and like the technology that is coming. So how do you feel like your responsibility towards the content, which is going to be so hyper personalized that you can't skip it? Do you feel like your own responsibility in it? And is it, I mean, what's the fears? What is there to fear about?
Do you want to talk about hyper?
Sure. Yeah, I think we need to be really mindful of the content itself, and you know, obviously fake news on the rise. We as PRs, we need to get to the truth, and there needs to be some, you know, there needs to be conversations at the very least around ethics and morality and things like that, and guidelines on which we work. Because it, you know, AI in not just PR, it can be manipulated in many different ways. It can be used to manipulate in many different ways. So, yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. I think we'll see how it pans out. I think, but as PRs, you know, we have a social responsibility to remain ethical and moral and use morals and fact check things. So yeah, that's.
I think we still will have a big role in that part when it happens.
Yeah.
So what's your fears like? Do you
Yeah,
feel
what are
like
your fears?
It's going to be something that you can't let down a good opportunity, and it's in some way like hurtful for the audience or for the artist?
I think the fears might be a long way off yet. I mean, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40 years, maybe there's, you know, AI just creating all the stories itself. That's a possibility. I don't know how we sort of merge with the AI in that respect, but we'll see over time.
I suppose it's because we've still got a relevant, you know, a really relevant role certainly in the next 10 to 20 years, but at some point I guess we will be made sort of slightly extinct while all the creativity happens via the AI too, as well as all the mundane tasks.
But you know what, to the point, I think personal relationships will always need to be there. I think that's the fundamentals behind what we do is, you know, we're human to human, so we connect with other humans that create things and bring them together. I think those personal relationships will always be really important. Yeah.
Any more questions? Is there any publicists in the room? No. Okay. Oh, one. Okay.
Any other questions? What else is on your mind?
Yeah.
These ideas, my name is Gregor, I'm a PR of a couple of clubs and festivals here. These ideas work perfectly in all these new technologies for big bands.
Yes.
Most of us, we work with smaller bands, and even on the big scale, I think that the guy with the guitar and female fans still works in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that
Yeah,
one,
yeah,
because
exactly.
we're actually doing something on a much smaller scale, aren't we? With, but still using the same technology. You know, the Shaw.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if you want to talk
Yeah.
on that.
So actually, we're about to, and we realise that not everyone's got the budget that Muse have got, and you know, and that sort of thing. That operation probably costs hundreds of thousands to put together. We're actually about to develop something with Shaw, so Shaw as in Shaw mics. We're going to be developing a series of live shows for them, which bring in the emerging artists and allow them to get involved with the AR and VR experience. And they're really keen to keep rolling this out just with emerging artists. So yeah, and I think over time technology will get cheaper, and there will be a point where, you know, I think if you remember back in the 90s, it was probably quite hard for the emergent artists to have their own music video, but now it's something that we could do very easily. I think with time the sort of routes in will become a lot easier.
Definitely.
I don't see that one or the other way will prevail. I see this as a new market, maybe market will segment, because let's say I work a lot with DJs.
Yeah.
I didn't believe that people will be into watching DJs playing their sets online and maybe even paying for them. Now we have a huge market, everybody is broadcasting sets, but at the same time the shows are on the rise.
Exactly.
We've never booked as many DJs as we do now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely,
and I mean the live industry is booming, and set to make the most money. You know, it's going to be worth about 30 billion in the next 10 years, which is amazing. However, we are seeing artists like Coldplay and stuff who are now they have an environmental stance in their future strategy, and perhaps more artists might do that, in that they don't want to tour anymore because they want to remain carbon neutral. So they are going to be televising an online show in Jerusalem to showcase their album next year. So people will have to pay for that experience.
Or there will be more space for local artists.
Exactly, which is a great thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
How would like a small rock band utilize TikTok so it doesn't like seem stupid?
Adam is the expert in TikTok.
No, I think TikTok's great. I think there's some insecurities around, it's, you know, it's so young, it's so silly, but it's really just in its infancy in many ways. Obviously it was used to be Musical.ly, which is an even younger demographic, but you know, it's like Instagram in the early days. I believe that, you know, you can create a tremendous following quite quickly by just being confident and being yourself, and not caring about this playing to the machine, you know, or like trying to follow the status quo. Well, this is how it should be. You know, people are very, you know, it's a platform, and so it's you know, as a rock band, maybe there's some challenges you can create, you know. Share those challenges with other fans and get them to, you know, hashtag challenge. I think there's huge opportunity. Just be confident in being yourself. I think that's the only
Yeah,
advice that I
just
give.
remain
Yeah.
authentic. You'll be surprised how many people are actually really interested in the most mundane, basic things on there. So you don't need to do a sing-song dance along to promote the rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright, so
give
get
it a go.
creative basically.
Yeah.
Be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, give it a go and see what happens. Yeah,
Yeah. Definitely.
Thank you.
no problem. Cool. I think that's.
Is any other thoughts? At the back, maybe?
Okay.
No?
Thank you.
All right, thanks,
Thanks
guys.
so much for your
Always
time.
a real
Thank
pleasure.
Thank you for coming along. I appreciate it. It's Friday afternoon.